Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. What about Papoose-Pap-Prrp? Man, how come nobody really talking about Papoose? You know what I'm saying? Did he, let me ask you a question, right? Did he destroy Claressa Shields' brand from the shadows? Because he seems to be becoming the most controversial figure in women's boxing. And I'm being honest with you, man. Because when you look at the moves that are being made, I mean, Claressa didn't really start being so in our faces until she hooked up with Papoose-Pap-Prrp. And many people believe he masterminded Claressa Shields becoming the villain. And that whole situation between Pap and Claressa, Papoose-Pap, big vote, has become a public disaster. People saying he used her to rebuild his own life. Fans believe, hey, Papoose is backed in the corner now. I do. I think he has to go and marry her and give her a child. If not, this would be probably one of the biggest, I would say, relationship fails by a male using a woman in front of the world to, again, you know what I'm saying, rebuild his own life. And that's why when you talk about Claressa Shields and Papoose, that whole saga just gets darker and darker and darker, man. Even for me, I'm wondering, I'm like, how the hell Papoose, how's he okay with this situation? And for him going from being a respected rapper to one of boxing, probably boxing's most criticized manager, because that's what I believe he is. Maybe one of her managers, but he's definitely the most criticized right now. So did he hijack Claressa Shields' career and public image for his own financial benefit? Because the internet thinks Papoose is the real problem behind Claressa Shields' chaos. Now, let's try to understand that situation and why so many fans believe things spiral out of control. The situation surrounding Papoose and Claressa Shields has evolved far beyond celebrity gossip. For many fans, it's become a case study. I know for me it has. Especially when you talk about branding, public perception, relationship dynamics, emotional influence, fame, or reputational collapse. And one of the biggest conversations online right now is this. Why does Claressa appear to absorb most of the public backlash while Papoose stays relatively protected? And that's exactly what's happened. See, a growing number of fans believe Papoose has strategically remained underneath the radar publicly, while Claressa became the visible lightning rod for controversy in women's boxing. Good example is the other day where he's sitting there, standing there, not saying nothing, got the shades on, as the lookout man, while Claressa goes and does the dirty work. So he kind of flies underneath the radar, but Claressa, again, is the visible lightning rod for controversy. Now, look, I'm not telling you I'm speaking facts, and whether that perception is fair or not. It's become one of the defining narratives surrounding their relationship. Bonnie and Papoose-Pap-Prrp. So fans believe Claressa became the villain while Papoose stayed behind the curtain. That's one of the strongest opinions circulating online. That Claressa's public image dramatically shifted after Papoose became heavily connected to her career and public messaging. Look, man, people are arguing right now that the tone became more confrontational from Claressa, the rivalries became more personal, conflicts became more constant, the overall branding became more aggressive, divisive, and sexual. I'm tracking with all of that, 100%. And I listen to fans, they point specifically to repeated public narratives involving superiority, calling other fighters jealous, insulting rivals, and discussing physical dominance over both male and female fighters. Now, there are some, like my boy the POTUS, who calls in. Some supporters viewed all this as confidence and promotion. The hood, y'all need to take it easy. But critics believe it pushed Claressa away from inspirational champion branding and towards what she seems to be dealing with now is chaos, hostility, and constant controversy. And throughout all of this craziness, many fans feel Papoose largely escaped the level of scrutiny Claressa received. And that's because there's people, that's because people weren't really understanding the mastermind narrative. Now people are starting to say, okay, he's got a whole lot to do with this. And that's why you see over in social media, there's, growing sections that believe Papoose became heavily involved in shaping Claressa's public image strategically, and they argue that he encouraged the aggressive viral moments. He made the push for her to seek virality over professionalism, the internet feuds, the charged narratives, combative branding. And the thing is, for anyone saying, why would he do that? Because controversy drives visibility. You know what I'm saying? And modern entertainment culture, outrage creates engagement. And many fans believe Claressa slowly transformed from great champion into constant internet war figure. She's out there in Aruba right now, and she's still worrying about what people are saying. The critics, the haters, even her fans. But when you think about this, and this is a problem, critics argue that the attention and positive branding are always not the same thing. And that's what I think he doesn't understand. Yes, she has a lot of attention, but it's not positive branding. And sometimes increased visibility damages long-term reputation, which we've seen happen with Claressa Shields. And that's why, to me, the Laila Ali situation intensified the criticism. Now, we all know the major turning point for a lot of fans were just the comments connected to Laila Ali. And then Papoose exaggerated and definitely misrepresented discussions surrounding what Laila Ali said she would or wouldn't do as far as a fight with Claressa Shields. You know what I'm saying? As far as the money figures and Laila's willingness to fight Claressa. Matter of fact, while we're talking, let me take a pause. I'm just gonna pull it up and play it for you because it's absolutely ridiculous how married women. Yo, it said, man, hold on a second. Those companies, Papoose, he went out here and lied on Laila Ali. You see, this is what messed it up for somebody like me. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't believe he went on Vlad TV and actually said, let me play it here. I'm gonna play it for you as I skip this ad. I couldn't believe he actually went on there and lied, man. That's where he disappointed me with that. I'll tell you that.
They'll be running their mouth, by the way, because for a very long time before. So when she said that, 15 million, and I don't remember exact question, but the person who was at the fight, they put the camera on Laila Ali. Yeah, I don't really like to speak on this, you know what I mean, because they're women, but so I don't like to get too in depth with it. But I will say this: I do know it was a fight. And at the fight, they put the camera on Laila Ali, and they asked her about Claressa. They asked her like, "Hey, about something to that degree." I don't remember the exact question, but the person who was asking the question, he did mention Claressa's name when he asked Laila the question. And when she responded, she said, 15 million. And in her response, she said, "Yo, I'll come back out for 15 million." So when she said that, our team, which is Win Records, who Claressa just signed. Congratulations, she just signed the $8 million deal. And I'm very happy to say that I was a part of facilitating that and making that happen because I've been an executive at Win Records for a very long time before I even met Claressa. Shameless plug to everybody out there who be running their mouth, by the way. Yeah, it was me. I was the guy who helped that happen. But anyway, who helped make that happen. When she said that, our family and our team at Win Records said, okay, 15 million, is that all she want? Okay, well, let's make it happen. And they put the money in escrow and, put the offer out there. But, she declined that offer. Everybody has the right to decline, with all due respect. But that, to answer your question, that's exactly what transpired.
Lies. This man here is a trip, man. Just out here lying. That is not what happened. That is not what happened. And that's what just really blows my mind when it comes to this guy, Papoose. And that was from the Vlad TV interview, man. That interviews with Papoose. If you're following the Claressa Shields situation and all the drama with her and Papoose and Remy and all that, you need to watch that interview. It's an eye-opener. But Papoose didn't exaggerate or misrepresent anything. He lied. You know what I'm saying? Talking about she said she would fight for $15 million, and we were like, oh, that's all she want? Man, yeah, come on now. Laila Ali, she came out here and the videos are all, I'm not even playing what she said because we all know he lied. But that shit to me was unnecessary, inflammatory. And it just makes him, Claressa, and that whole team look crazy, man. You know? But the bottom line is the situation transformed, in my opinion, from a competitive fantasy matchup into a forced public pressure campaign. Now, they know Laila Ali's a big dog. She's not going to come out here and allow no one to strong-arm her into some fight. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is, I think a lot of fans now just see Claressa as obsessed with chasing validation from retired legends. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the relationship speculation. That became another public disaster. But now we know they're together. And how long they've been together, who knows? But the relationship itself became another major source of scrutiny because of the public connection of Papoose to Remy, because he's still married. And that's one thing I know the ladies, but they haven't stopped talking about that. They've been passionate about that, and they ain't easing up on that. You know, there's an emotional investment in that narrative because it touched loyalty for these women, it touched marriage for these women, betrayal, friendship, public morality. That made the situation much bigger than boxing and got all the women involved in on Claressa's ass. You know what I'm saying? So now you got rumors and speculation that continues to circulate, online as far as financial dynamics, living arrangements, are they together, who's spending whose money, who's gambling, what's going on, long-term commitments, is Papoose going to be with her, not going to be with her, is she spinning the block trying to get back with old flings or whatever. Is there some dishonesty in the future family plans? Are they not going to be married, have a kid? Is there going to be a divorce? I mean, it's just important to stress, right, that a lot of this is just internet speculation, gossip, and unverified claims. Some of it is verified, but it's just a conversation. But the bottom line is perception becomes reality in celebrity culture. And the fans have increasingly begun questioning whether Claressa is emotionally over-invested in a relationship situation that remains legally complicated because Papoose is still publicly connected to a marriage with Remy Ma. And when he went on Vlad, I'm not going to play it, y'all go watch the whole interview. That shit had me cracking up when he was like he has his own place. He does not live with Claressa. He don't pay her bills. All of that created all kind of conversations, especially with people like, Papoose made it clear that he has his own spot. She has hers. I ain't paying nothing over there. People are like, that shit contradicted the public image of the deep commitment, future marriage, and building a family together, immediately. Fans were like, we got to break this down. Those comments, sound like he's emotionally distancing himself from her. Others viewed them as normal adult boundaries, but because Claressa has publicly discussed love, marriage, children, sex, long-term future plans, who's spending money and paying bills for her, and everything. And that's why they all up in their business because she's putting it out there. Now you got fans psychologically comparing what's being promised versus what's actually happening. And the gap is fueling enormous online speculation, and it's really entertaining. Is Papoose an opportunist? Papoose-Pap-Prrp, opportunist. Is he an opportunist? This narrative is all over the internet. Every now and then I get a little poke in the eye because I'm like, yeah, he seems that way, but you can't really put that jacket on him because they together. But everybody like, nah, hood. I'm like, I don't know. Time will tell. Let's set a planning factor. I think the harshest criticism aimed at Papoose right now is a belief that he's financially benefiting from Claressa's fame, success, and resources. I think that's the killer right there. Yeah, the one that really get under their skin is the whole marriage and all that, and the side chick thing they call Claressa. But for me, and I listened to this thing about him taking advantage of her and financially benefiting. You know, that's a tough one. But when you go online, man, people are speculating that, Claressa elevated his visibility. Again, she reintroduced him to the world because he was basically become a has-been kind of. And then with her, she improved his access to boxing, media spaces, and helped restore relevance around his name. Nobody talked about him the way they're talking about him now. But the reality is people fear that Claressa may eventually feel emotionally used if the relationship doesn't lead toward the marriage, the divorce, the children, long-term stability. And these reasons, I just think that when you think about these reasons and you think about emotions, they run so high by fans around this topic because they're watching Claressa and they're saying, yo, she's emotionally intense. She's showing deep loyalty to him and heavily invested publicly. She's put herself out there over him. So if the relationship ends badly, they just feel the backlash towards Papoose could become overwhelming. And I tend to agree. But that's why I joke all the time, say he backed himself in a corner. You know what I mean? Like he's got to commit because the expectations publicly created by Claressa Shields, as far as when it comes to fans, by everything she's put out there, shit's become dangerous for him. He has to show commitment. He has to have a family with her. There had to be future plans, management success, emotional loyalty. He's got to do something, man. These are all the things that people are talking about when it comes to Papoose and Claressa. You know what I'm saying? So he got himself in a corner because now if Claressa's career continues to decline, the sponsors continue to remain hesitant, if the relationship collapses or the marriage doesn't happen, man, Papoose' image could suffer permanent damage because fans increasingly frame the situation through a narrative of he used her. Now, whether that's true or false, again, the perception becomes reality and it's become devastating publicly. Papoose historically built a reputation around, loyalty, intelligence, maturity, being a stable partner. Now, fans feel that image has been heavily damaged. It's all bad, man. All bad for Papoose. But I'm telling you what, I think the bigger problem is when you talk about women's boxing becoming attached to drama, it really has become attached to drama. And he's part of that. This entire saga has pulled attention away from athletic accomplishments, women's boxing growth, and positive momentum for the sport. Instead, the conversations now revolve around relationships, controversy, social media feuds, accusations, public hostility. Claressa Shields' lobster tail. And that shit frustrates a lot of fans, man. They're just sitting here like, man, Claressa's actual boxing accomplishments remain historically significant, man. But the controversy just overwhelmed everything. All her achievements, everything. All this internet culture has just destroyed her. And they blame Papoose for that. But the more I talk about this, I've been talking about it since August, but the more I talk about it, the more I'm starting to understand celebrity relationships. And I'm a boxing guy, but I'm starting to understand. When personal relationships become deeply connected to business, branding, fame, emotional identity, and public image, everything becomes amplified. Success feels bigger, conflict feels bigger, humiliation feels bigger, speculation spreads faster. But now many fans believe that Claressa and Papoose are trapped inside a public narrative that may permanently affect their reputations, which has already happened, their emotional lives, which I think has happened, and future opportunities, which has already happened. And I think it's going to keep happening. And again, whether fair or unfair, the internet has already started writing the story. And it's really unfortunate. Now, am I rooting for them to win or lose? Nah, I don't want anyone to lose, but I'm not rooting for anyone to win. I just have no expectation. I'm just observing, watching. But to everything that has gone on with these two, to that I say, in the most respectful way, to Papoose and Big Goat, hey, yo, hold your horses and stop taking it to the stupid. Because, man, it did not have to go this way. The direction this shit has gone with Claressa and her career, this is horrible. But hey, it is what it is at this time, you know what I'm saying? But for all y'all putting that pressure on Claressa, I understand. But for me, you got somebody else out here. And that's what I'm saying. What about Papoose-Pap-Prrp in the breeze?